All right, what's going on YouTube? It's Donnie B all day. So I'm gonna raise out a plea here and maybe a little common sense when it comes to car buying. Every every politician, every maker is trying to push this whole EV thing. The problem is they're not pushing EVs because it's any better for the planet. Because quite frankly, it's not. Uh, they're doing it because of payouts. You know what I mean? They're getting money to to try and sell this stuff, to try and make it so you have to drive one. But here's the thing: for just one EV battery, they're digging out 500,000 pounds of material to get 1,000 pounds of usable material. So what do you do with that 499,000 pounds of material for one battery? Nothing. They just put it in a pile. So what's happening is they're digging these giant mines, these holes in the ground, boop, 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 all the way around, these giant, giant holes. And a lot of these holes are in places like Africa. And so what's happening is you're using child slave labor because slavery is still legal in Africa. So they're using child slave labor to go out there and haul this dirt and try to sift through and get whatever usable material you can get. The problem is you're talking about ancestral land, you're talking about hunting grounds, you're talking about paths to travel. So let's say there's a lot of tribes in Africa that still walk every year. They do a certain migration pattern to different places. Now, if you do a mile wide hole in the ground directly from where they walk, now you're taking this 3 day journey that they normally take, and now they have to walk around it and then keep going. But it's just hunting grounds, so it's their food, or it's just animals being displaced, just wild, natural wildlife, right? No longer have their hunting grounds, no longer have where they sleep at night. So you're literally destroying the planet. You're destroying a way of life for animals. You're destroying a way of life for indigenous peoples. You are putting children into slave work by buying electric vehicles, even a hybrid. It's an electric vehicle. So here's what happens. And you go and you plug it in and you power up, and it's taken a whole lot longer to fuel your vehicle with a plug than it is to fuel your vehicle at the pump. At the pump, you might be there for 2-3 minutes going to full, where you could be hours. Now, here's the thing: if you're driving and your batteries are running low and it indicates where you need to pull over to go and charge up, that charging station might be in a very bad place, a very bad place. And if you're a single mother with a small child and you stop someplace where crime is 24/7, you are stuck in this place where you could be robbed, killed, or other bad things happening to you or your child because you're stuck for hours trying to fuel up your car. So another thing with the batteries, right? The EV battery plant. So if you have a plant that makes EV batteries here, and then one here, and one here, and one here, well, just one of those plants makes as much pollution as the entire city of Los Angeles. So you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get an EV and I'm going to save the planet. To make the batteries, you're not only carving a hole so big in the earth that it changes the tectonic plates, and you have more earthquakes and more shifts and things happening that are bad for the planet, but you're polluting the planet at a far higher rate. And then when your battery, think about it, your battery as a rechargeable battery, it's good for about 10 years or 100,000 miles, because every time you recharge a rechargeable battery, you lose a little bit of battery life every single time. So for people who like to keep their cars for us, oh, I'm going to keep this car for 500,000 miles. And there's a lot of people that like to keep their cars like that. Well, if you do that with an EV, what's going to happen is after your first 100,000 miles, you're going to need to have your EV battery changed. So now you're looking at, well, if you're looking at like one of those cheap hybrids, like a really small hybrid, not made for a family, it's like an around the city type thing, tiny, crappy little car, you're looking at around $5,000 just to replace that little EV battery. That's ridiculous. So normally with like a gas powered car, any combustional engine, you're looking at maybe $100 to change the battery. Or if you're talking about one of those little mini cars, a little micro thing, then you're looking at $50 to change the battery. Not with an EV. It's going to cost you a lot of money to do that. That's just for a hybrid. If you have a full if you have a full EV, you're like minimum like $20,000 just to change your battery. That's ridiculous. And they only last 10 years or 100,000 miles. That is nothing. I live in Arizona. 100,000 miles out here is half the year. It's going back and forth because the state is so big and we have so much wide open space. You put in a lot of miles. If you aren't living in a city where you're putting 5 miles a week on your car, then your car's still going to be bad in 10 years, but you're not going to hit that 100,000 mile mark. Out here, that 100,000 mile mark is going to come real fast. Boom. So if you live someplace where you're doing a lot of traveling or you're up and down the road a lot, that 100,000 miles comes pretty quick and you are going to be spending a whole lot of money. So now you have these places where they're putting all these charging stations. The charging stations weren't there before. It's not like they're just carving out space. They're taking space that was already there being utilized for a different purpose. And now they're pushing those. They're taking, like in parking lots, they're taking spaces and making them just for EV cars, reducing the amount of spots a normal person driving a normal car can actually park in. The worst thing you can do for humanity. I mean, if you really hate Africans, if you really hate Earth, all right, buy an EV. I mean, you're a planet-hating racist buying an electric car because you know who's going to work to do this, and you know who's being put out once that hole is there. And here's the thing. Once they dig the hole and they get all the material, they're not refilling the hole when they're done. When they say, okay, this mine is dried up, it stays a hole. The hole is left in the ground because it would cost so much money to take that dirt and push it back into the hole to refill it. And they're not going to have any way to get that money back because the money they're getting is from taking it out and getting the resources. So you're literally buying a car and you're paying people to destroy the earth and not fix it when they're done. Then what happens when you have to change your EV batteries? The whole battery isn't, it's not biodegradable. It's not recyclable. So now you're just talking about a massive amount of material that is never going to be gone. It's going to be in a pile forever, right? It is, it's not worth it. And I'm not, I don't drive any hybrids. I don't drive any electric cars, but the reason is because it's dumb. It's really, really dumb. If you want your then the wildfires. These batteries have been known to explode. One of the California wildfires started from an exploding electric car. And then people have died because they have been locked in their electric car for safety measures. It locks them in, and then their cars catch fire. The problem is, if you've never seen an incendiary grenade, that's a hard word. Incendiary grenade. What it does is we would put them on the hood of a vehicle. If you had to leave the vehicle in a foreign country and you don't want them taking it, what you do is you take the grenade, you pop the pin, you put it on the hood. It burns so hot that it burns straight through an engine block. That's how hot it is. It is the hottest fire material you're going to come against. And this is what's burning when your EV battery catches fire. It's going to melt through anything, especially you. It's dangerous. It's bad for the planet. it's bad for the people on the planet who actually have to be sent to these mines to dig this stuff out. It's bad for the animals. It's bad for the air because of all the pollution that comes from the plants just to make these damn batteries. And then to keep these batteries going and to keep these cars going and to make these batteries, you still need fossil fuels. You're not getting rid of fossil fuels with an electric car. You still need them. It's so now you're just doubling down on pollution. You're doubling down on earth destruction. Now you're adding with a gas powered car. You're not displacing people. You're not displacing animals. You're not doing the damage that you're doing with an electric car. And I know this is kind of a rant. It's just because I keep seeing these companies, and Ford just lost $5 billion because they went so woke with the electric cars. And the woke thing just is really pushing a lot of people. But they lost $5 billion because they put all this money into these electric cars that nobody wants. That crappy, I don't want to call it a Mustang because it's not. You don't take an electric SUV and put a Mustang badge on it. That's the most disrespect you could have to a pony car ever. It's just terrible. But all these companies are losing so much money. Jaguar made the statement they were going to go fully electric only, blah, 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 blah. And then future sales, like people that put down, okay, I'm going to buy this car, this, because people pre-buy cars, they nosedived. It tanked. It's because people don't want them. Smart people don't want them. People care about the planet. People who aren't racist. people who actually don't want young African children being put into pits as slaves. And people who don't want their own countries, because once you find out, oh, hey, guess what? Guess what's in the ground here? We can take this. Well, we're going to need really cheap labor, and then we're going to need to leave the hole. Great. They're planning on doing one in Nevada. Great job, Nevada. Welcome that into your state so you can have a giant hole that's never going to be refilled and recovered. And it's never going to be able to be used for anything because they have to put a border around it just so people don't go in, so they don't die falling down a pit. So now you don't just have a hole, but you have an unusable hole. I just needed to rant. I cannot stand this electric car push. People don't realize that when you buy a hybrid or an electric car, an EV, your battery is going to die. Period. If you buy a used hybrid or a used EV, you are dumb. You are not thinking, because that battery has already been charged and charged and charged and charged and charged, which means it decreases. So you're buying a car now that has less miles or less time left in the battery. That's going to minimally, at minimum, cost you $5,000 to replace. No, thank you. All right, so I don't know. That's my little on EVs and hybrids. Be a mensch. Be a real good person, and buy gas powered cars. Don't listen to these just stop oil people. They literally are a bunch of racists who are destroying the planet and blocking traffic. Ooh, I'm so glad we haven't seen any here. That's it for this one. I am Donnie B all day. Till next video.